The streaming to kick off. Good evening, everyone. This is going to be our discussion on open innovation for cities. And we're going to start with a presentation from Patricia González. She's from Sensitive Cities, a citizen co-creation program. And then we're going to have a presentation with Ignasi Fontalans from RESCCUE, which is an open project for innovation as well, a lab. And then we're going to proceed with David from the Smart Citizen, which is an observatory on the topics as well of strategies and tactics for more livable cities. All right, so we're going to start. But all yours. Yeah.
Hi. Let's find presentation.
There is connection to internet here.
Com es busca, David?
Jo em voy a conectar a la web del RESCCUE.
Sí, sisplau, perquè no sé com has accedit a la...
No traigo presentación.
¿A la teva? Ja està. Vale.
Ahora estamos escuchando.
Ah, sí, ¿en serio? Wow, qué presión.
No, en absoluto.
Venga, ya está. Vale. Hi. I'm Pat from Sensitive Cities. My background is communication and strategy, but I always did this job in technological and innovation environments. And all changed when I started working in Barcelona City Hall, where I added people and social impact. This is the first moment. Barcelona is a very big city, it's urban and complex, but I also worked in other city halls that are small, rural, but also very complex. So after all this period working inside the city halls, I had like a need, an internal need, that is, how could I help all the cities to innovate, taking in advantage the different talents, the diverse talents of people, of citizens. So this was the starting point of a design research process that I did in the United States. I could interview to the different innovation directors of all these cities, Los Angeles, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and so on. They all come here to explain their success stories, their case histories, but I wanted to know the things that they are not explaining us here. That is, all the things that are not working, all the things that they feel they are problems when they decide how to innovate inside the cities. So after all these things that I learned with them and with other initiatives, I decided to start Monday Innovation Lab for Cities. That is a social innovation lab for cities. The thing is how to help these people, of these innovators and these change makers that are inside the city halls to innovate, but from outside. So I created different programs: Spark Girls for gender digital divide, late bloomers for elderly people, Youngster Society for young people, especially Generation Z, and all the issues that are important for them. Make My Lab, that is a program for organizations that are mature enough to work transversally inside the organization. So in one hand, it's physical spaces, but also policies and strategies and services and so on. And then also custom projects, whatever we need to innovate in a city. So some examples is from the Sparkles program. We create activities for girls, and through having fun and creating activities that are inside their maturity moment, we include the technology and also science and so on, but they are really having fun. And we are using stereotypes to accede to the specific moment of the girls when they are open and sharing their activities. And we are present there with all these things that come or are, for the new, let's say, society. Sock Blogger is a program that we did for a project, that we did with elderly people in Barcelona City Hall also. And these are beta testers. They are co-creators. People are doing or creating the programs with us from the beginning. And this is a weekly meeting that we do. They select different issues. This is a program, journalists? Yeah, citizen journalism program for the elder, by the elder, for the elderly people in the city. And they create they are mentors. There is a gamification process where they are earning badges and they finally mentor other new elder people that come to start the program. So it's an ecosystem. And this is for the young people. We are doing this in Granollers City Hall or city. And youngsters are leading the climate emergency program in this city. And they are engaging the leaders, young leaders are engaging other young people to create EcoFest, a festival for the emergency climate, to do local actions that engage the rest of the citizens. And this is the co-creation with the City Hall. This is the co-creation with them. This is an example of the lab with different departments of the City Hall that are working together to solve municipality challenges with also the citizens. So now, this was Monday Innovation Lab. What we are launching now is Sensitive Cities. That is a concept that is up of all this. That is, how could we help everybody, any person of the world, to discover their personal talents, their real talents, to focus them, to improve their local communities. So we saw that the thing here is the mindset and ¿cómo se dice? Well, well, I lost the word. Anyway, we are looking for change makers regardless if they are working in the City Hall or they are working in companies or they are working wherever. So we are launching the Sensitive Cities Academy that is a school for change makers, and we are sharing all the knowledge that we got during all this phase, working for organizations and especially city halls. So it's a global school for change makers, normal people that are sharing their talents to change the world. We have different programs. The first one is Discover Your Talents. It's a workshop, a weekend workshop. And then mentorizing programs, create your social project, and create your online course, all with social impact. And this is the process of prototyping of this project. We started doing different activities with people coming, a diverse community, coming from all the sectors. For example, bank sector, marketing, third sector, education, environment, technology, medicine, but also poetry or art. Different people that were all co-creating how could we do or solve this challenge. In this group were people coming from IDEO in San Francisco, people coming from Lima, Singapore, and so on. So we are attracting people from everywhere that really engage with this purpose. This is a hackathon with a university. The object of the hackathon was how to detect change makers inside the public administration, people that wants to change things from inside. And there were different solutions. This is the first cohort of new students of the academy, the Sensitive Cities Academy. This is how we work. This is the Discover Your Talents workshop. So people really, they are doing like this. They are really introspecting. I don't know if the word is correct, but they are connecting with themselves, with their talents first, and then making them tangible, and then going to action. But first, they connect with themselves. And this is very important. These are different projects that they are creating that came from this connection with themselves, and they take the shape of project. But in this case, they are creating online courses based on the talents that they found they have. And they are going out, trying to make them tangible and sharing these talents with all the people. This is the first group. This is the second. This is the team. Part of them is here. We are really, really proud of all the work that they are doing. And the thing is that we think that the next shape of innovation in cities won't come from technology, but from the combination of the diverse talents of the people, the citizens. This is all realized here. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Now we're going to move to Ignasi to present RESCUE.
Okay, so thank you very much. My name is Ignasi Fontalans, and I am one of the work package leaders of an H2020 project called RESCUE. So I don't know if you are familiar with this type of projects, H2020. They are projects that are financed by the European Union. In our case, they finance 8 million euros during 4 years. And the project is a consortium of SMEs, large companies, multilateral organizations, and cities. So in our case, the project is called RESCUE because it deals with resilience to cope with climate change in urban areas. It's a multi-sectoral approach, and we are focusing on water. So I would like to share with you the experience of developing an R&D project with a city, with the participation and the co-creation, I would say, with cities. So the project is coordinated by a large company called Suez. You know that Suez at this moment has some issues with the cities as Barcelona, with the discussion about remunicipalization or not. So here is the first point, is an issue. When you make co-creation with, you can do it with citizens, but you need companies. And when you do it with companies, keep in mind what is to work with a large company or what is to work with SMEs. In our case, our coordinator is Suez, but in the project we have also 3 cities. We have Barcelona, Bristol, and Lisbon. And the fact that you have to create something with different stakeholders with different interests. I mean, you can imagine that a private company has some benefit interests, but very legitimate because the company needs to win money to be sustainable. And cities have other interests, common interests. And you have to find the correct balance. So an European Union wants us to do that. European Union wants that large companies, SMEs, researchers and cities have a common agreement to create business model. That's the second point that I think it's very important. Think about business models. Business model doesn't mean to be the evil because you want to win money and steal the money from citizens. If you want to create your projects, you need a sustainable business model. Maybe because you want to make some impact, you want to act on the society, you have a project, you are an entrepreneur, but you need to have a business model. If not, it's not sustainable. The money the resources are limited. So in this project, we have been trying, and I think it's a good example, to manage this idea. The project is dealing with infrastructures, with urban service infrastructures. It's dealing with modeling. It's very technical. It's modeling when there is a flooding in a city. For example, in Bristol, they have a lot of flooding. So we have researchers who are looking at where the water is going and which are the measures that you have to do. In Barcelona, we are doing the same. For example, we are seeing if there is a flooding, how the containers are moving and where are going the containers. And for electrical system, we are seeing how the electrical system is dealing. So these are very technical issues that are necessary, and that also necessary that citizens understand. Because the city, to manage a city, it's a social issue, but there are technical issues that citizen doesn't know. Nobody has explained to a citizens how you manage waste, water, and this is important to know. If you want to participate, you have to understand technically how a urban system works. So in this project, we deal with the different urban systems, the water, the waste, the electricity, the mobility, and we try to simulate what will happen in the city. And that will help citizens, because the next time there will be a blackout in Barcelona or a flooding in Bristol, measures will be taken. We will take into account these models to take measures and protect the citizens. So the consortium, as you see, I think I want to point this. All these different stakeholders, you can find Endesa. You know, Endesa is a large company. Sometimes they don't care about cities, you know, but sometimes yes. But there are also universities as Exeter or research center as CETAQUA or the UN Habitat. The UN Habitat, it's a multilateral organization, and also SMEs. So in these three research sites, the project is also collaborating with what we call, maybe you are familiar with this, with the Chief Resilience Officer, with the 100 resilient cities that has created a network that now is changing. This network is evolving. So what is interesting in this project is that in every city there were a Chief Resilience Officer dealing with resilience in a holistic way, looking at how an impact, how a blackout or a flooding can affect the city and how can these affect the citizens. So I don't go on details. You can find this on the web. There is another point I think it's interesting in the European projects. If you go, maybe some of you already know, if you go to Cordis, it's a web page called Cordis, and you are dealing with participation, with whatever, and you look at the European projects, there is a lot of content, a lot of very good technical content from research that it's available, that it's open. In our case in RESCCUE, we go there to our web page and you can find what we call the deliverables with very technical studies, and it's a source of open knowledge that the European Union is putting to the citizens, and I'm not sure if everybody is using this. For example, here you can see there are 6 different work packages. Work package is the group of tasks that we do, and you deal with climate change, generation of climate change scenarios, sectorial models, risk assessment, resilience action plan. The project also is creating a model to create resilience action plan in cities, and this will be available for everybody. So I recommend you to go to the Cordis web base and look at whatever you are, energy efficiency, whatever, you will find a European project and you can download the deliverables. So the project now is finishing. Next year in March there will be a large congress in the São Paulo with the city of Barcelona, UN Habitat, Bristol, Lisbon, and the results will be presented and will be shared with all the citizens. And so here you have the web, it's rescue.pon.eu. And the last challenge is that if you are someone dealing with urban resilience or with urban issues, we have here a challenge that is to communicate this to the citizens. There are some experience now in Terrassa, we are trying to share this notion, these technical notions of urban resilience and urban systems with citizens. And I think it's very, very important to, co-create with the citizens, but they have to have some technical knowledge, because if not, you are not well informed to take decisions. There are some decisions that are technical and some that are political and some that are from management. And I think it's very important to see this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ignasi.
¿Dónde está mi presentación? ¿Cómo se puede poner?
Si clicas aquí, ¿esa que está?
Sí.
Pues aquí.
Pantalla completa. Vamos a poner los 6 minutos.
Sí, casi se van los.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to share about the work we're doing about the smart citizen and to join this conversation with Ignasi and Pat. Thank you for your very inspiring presentations. I'm looking forward for the conversation afterward. I am David Leal. I'm Associate Editor at the Smart Citizen and also a designer of multi-stakeholder impact processes. We're going to have a conversation as to how can we give tools and processes that accelerate the very necessary transformation towards a low carbon emission models and to catalyze the urban transition that we need, not only in cities but also in corporations. So the Smart Citizen has been benchmarking good practices and good initiatives in different cities around the world since 2013, and in the smartcitizen.org you can see like in-depth case studies from Groningen, Copenhagen, Vitoria, and cities around the world. So the first point is we want to understand what works, what is working in different places, because this is like before we reinvent the wheel, let's see what is working. Many of the great ideas are already there. So this has been the first point. And I'm going to show, for example, yes, some of the articles on Copenhagen, Vitoria, Regreening the Sahara. You can see many cases studies in the website. Right now, what we're focusing on is how can processes and platforms of open innovation catalyze the creation of more agile and effective responses to the climate crisis. We have been putting a lot of emphasis on this since this year when there is like a global roar for effective climate action, and the young people all around the world are asking for it. And we need to find ways to bring multiple stakeholders together into decisive and effective action to transform all of the systems we've got in place. Energy systems, transport, food systems, rehabilitation of buildings, and so on and so on and so on. So we want to ask, how can open innovation help to that, to get like rapid agreements to align the will of different stakeholders in a direction that makes change happen faster and better. And we think that this is an emerging field, that we will see it grow in the next year, that it's still to be created, but we see some promising glimpses. We're going to mention some of them and to explain some of the lines we are working in order to create like processes that can be replicated with different corporations, networks of varied stakeholders, and cities. For example, we've got Nesta's Big Green Challenge project. In 2018, they launched a £1 million prize to whoever came with community-led initiatives that lowered dramatically greenhouse carbon emissions. They got like more than 300 projects. They selected 10. They were funded, and within 2 years, they reduced carbon emissions by 32%. In just 2 years, this amounted to the goals of the British government up to 2030. And these new models, these new initiatives can be replicated in communities around the country. This is one example of how collective intelligence and open innovation can help to bring new responses. We've got the models of the climatons. Climaton is an open concept. It's like a hackathon for climate solution. There have been climatons in Madrid and Valencia to create like eco-entrepreneurship and support entrepreneurs who come up with solutions. And in Bergen, Norway, it has been used as a way to catalyze dialogue between scientists and policymakers to create policy evidence and science-informed policies. Like Ignasi was saying, if we want to include citizens in the conversation, we need to create a way to socialize the knowledge on environmental science because it's a very complex issue. Lisbon is preparing for Lisbon 2020, Europe's Green Capital, a fascinating experiment, which is to do a participatory budgeting process aimed at climate. And the youngsters are going to have an important role there. Because if you imagine people from Lisbon send in like 500 proposals, there will be a committee of youngsters selected from high schools and prioritizing some of the most interesting ideas across the different areas. And out of the selection they do, the citizens will vote out. In total, it will be 5 million euros that will be spent next year in this kind of projects. We find this development to be very exciting, and we hope to see climate participatory budgeting in corporations and other municipalities around the world soon. In Paris, the municipality has given the right to any citizen to plant in the rooftops, in the empty spaces, in the walls. They just have to ask for permission to do it, and they will receive the approval and guidance of the municipality to do it. Just to say, there is also the Barcelona climate plan with Decidim, which is done like the strategy for the climate plan in Barcelona, done receiving different ideas and feedback from the citizens. And at the Smart Citizen, we're developing some experimental models. Some of them we have been doing it with other associations like Alabs, which works with a simulation of Decidim, which is accessible for everyone, with Puentes 4D, which is specialized in participatory processes. So in the alliance between participatory processes, collective intelligence, and climate solution, there is a very, very promising field and growing field for the next years. Along the lines we're experimenting with is participatory climate budgeting for municipalities and corporations, climatons, sessions for co-creating climate solutions, and also the co-design of green policies. This is essential because with the green policies, some people are going to win, some people are going to lose, and how to engage the interests of the different stakeholders together, and how to engage the perspectives of the citizens in a way that they can join the conversation and express their needs and have their say into what is it the city, what does it look like the cities of the future. Well, we think with this systemic approach, including all the stakeholders, there is a great potential to catalyze faster and better change. Yep, I was quite well on time. Thank you very much for your attention. For any more information, thesmartcitizen.org.
Thank you very much, David. Now we're going to open a little bit of a debate. I would like to ask you three, how would you define open innovation, and what is the main challenge that you've faced so far working with open innovation? Feel free to, want to start, Ignasi?
You want me to open the fire? Okay.
Yeah, please.
So I will be the very criticized one on open innovation. My background, I'm an entrepreneur. I am an impact entrepreneur. I create a company. I create a startup with impact. So I have been experimenting dealing with cities, but also large companies. And I think, in any case, in Spain, we start to be mature about open innovation, but since now, open innovation has been misunderstood as a kind of marketing thing, saying, well, I'm doing open innovation, a kind of, let's say that you have to be IP protected before an open innovation, because open innovation and explaining your idea to someone that will just take the idea and develop itself, and you are not well protected, it's very difficult for a startup. And I think now we are more and more learning about it, and there is another issue in Spain in any case. It's very difficult for cities to make open innovation with the actual juridic system or administrative system. In the reality, there are some that can do it because they have big lawyers doing all the process, etc. But if you are a kind of an association and you want to make open innovation, the cities, the people who's working in cities, they are afraid about doing this process because it's not clear legally, and because the political situation in Spain, where the political parties are denouncing every step of that the city is doing, I think it's very, very difficult. So this is my point of view, and I would like to hear maybe other good experience and not the
Do you want to
mine.
pitch in?
Sure. I would say that one of the problems with open innovation is that sometimes it has turned into, well, let's just create a contest, ask people for ideas, and we will have loads of ideas for free, and we just have to pay for one. I think this is sort of like a misconception of what open innovation is. In our understanding, open innovation is about a dialogue where everyone can have their say and giving their ideas and let the best ideas prevail. And the fact that many solutions are created unilaterally without taking into account the voices or perspectives of those affected by these solutions, by these technological solutions, by these policies, it creates backlash. It creates also unintended effects because you are not taking into account some fundamental part of reality. If this is why, I don't know, platforms like Facebook, which were meant to connect people, maybe they can create the opposite of disconnecting, opposite effect of disconnecting people. Platforms aimed at improving the traffic in the city, they may create more traffic jams. Apps designed to make the beaches less exploited can have the opposite effect. And also apps or platforms aimed at connecting the rural milieu and the small villages can create the opposite effect, which is to disconnect people from themselves. In order for that to not happen, you should co-create the platform with the people living there, taking into account the structures already existing there, and not start from scratch, as if reality this technological solutionism that doesn't put the people in the center and the different stakeholders in the center can create pain, even if in a well-intended way. So I think that what we need to learn is to collaborate and to listen to people who are different from us, and to include also the voices of migrants, women, minorities, also corporations, also municipalities, also experts, academia, and finding the way, learning to collaborate to co-create solutions. In this way, they will be more innovative and more effective in the long run.
Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think in most of the cities, the approach to open innovation is open the things that they are already done. So they think that opening a window for the people, they will come automatically because they will be interested automatically, and they will participate, very engaged, and then they will return to their homes to follow the things that they are doing that are not related with innovation. They are not related with the things that interest to the city hall or to the city. This is the approach. I'm also generalizing, and I'm also creating like an archetype to see how we start open innovation from the cities. What's our approach? We think people is really intelligent. Intelligent doesn't mean that they have studied, they have traveled abroad or whatever. The thing is that they know what they need or what their needs are, because they are experimenting them every day in their lives. So if we only open just a window and we say we are going to launch a challenge, the subject or the topic of the challenge will be this, and this will last for 3 weeks, and you have to hurry to present a lot of different, I don't know, an application. And, well, this attracts some kind of people, but not the most of the people. So what we think city halls or cities have, and also companies, and also universities, for Helix, innovation system means that everybody has to open spaces, or let's say, spaces, physical spaces, but also programs to make relationships with people along, a lo largo, o sea, yeah, all the time. Not just for 2 months, not just to win a prize. No, it's just open the company, open the city hall to talk and co-create. First, to detect which are the real needs, because maybe these needs that are detected by the city hall, by the company, or wherever, are perceptions of the real need and are based on behavior that is, how to say, you can see the behavior, but you cannot see, usually, the motivation that is behind this behavior. And if you don't know why people are doing what they are doing, you are solving the wrong problem. So you have to know which is the problem, the original problem that is making this behavior to appear or to be there. So if you don't include these people in the beginning, regardless if they are technical or not, in this moment, this is not important. After that, we will go to technology, we will go to talk with experts, but the experts in the real matter that matters here. So I think first, what we have summarizing to do, all companies and also city halls and all the organization, general speaking, they have to open to delete or erase these barriers or these limits that are supposed to separate us as a company or as an organization from the others that are our clients, our citizens, our what? They are people, and they have intelligence, and they have needs, and they have, of course, purposes in life. So we have to connect all these things. We have to think different. I think we have really not to talk about bottom-up processes, but let's avoid jargon and let's talk with people and let's understand what is happening, what is really happening, and then let's start doing things.
Thank you very much. We are, well, about our time. Do we have questions from the audience? Does anyone want to make a question? No? Do you guys want to make any extra comments? Any answers? Any? Yeah?
I will expanding on what Pat was saying. One example of this, not starting with a technological solution, but start listening, is Elena, a friend of us, is developing a project in Mexico, which is creating an association of small producers of strawberries. Okay, and they get very low payment for the strawberries on their production because the intermediaries get so much of it. So they started facilitating workshops, and they recognized that they need to create a stronger relationships and collaboration between them. And then they had the experts, the software developers, the designers saying like, okay, how could we help you? And they said like, we would like to have something like a Facebook for us. And they created a platform for their own with investors, with small producers, with experts, and so on and so on. So then they're collaborating now with Danone in order for Danone to buy only ecological strawberries produced by small producers and so on and so on. This is the outcome if they had said like, hey, here's our wonderful platform, come join it, would be very different because the platform was done to meet their specific needs. And I said what you said about the core needs, I think like the underlying need is a crisis of meaning, and a crisis of relationship, and a crisis in communities. And this is what needs to be rebuilt. It's the human element. It's like this continuity of relationships and community. People are each time more isolated, more sad, and like that, individuals are more vulnerable. And this collective intelligence between processes, it's about rebuilding this social fabric, the relationships between us, and developing the capacity to collaborate and to listen with a new consciousness, because in the end, this is the message of climate change. We need to start seeing ourselves as members of the human family. All of the people in this planet are our brothers and sisters, and unless we are capable of thinking in this scale, we are not going to be able to solve the common challenges ahead that we have and that involve the entire human family. So I think that would be like the underlying issue, which is more of a spiritual nature, with political, practical, technological, and social implications. But at the core, this is what maybe we should be starting with, in our view.
Okay, Res, only say that as we experimented a lot of times, this process that arises when different people is focused on the same need. The first is to know which is this need, but once we know what are we solving, what are we going to improve, the thing is that what appears is, let's say, bigger than the individualities of all the people that is there. So we are talking here about collective intelligence that arises when different people are all focused on solving something. Because if we all have or come from different backgrounds, and we all try to give our answer based on our background, our experiences, what happens there, what appears there, is not the sum up of all of us, sum up is correct, but the product of all what we are doing. And from this point of view, the things that will appear will be richer than other kind of solutions that are based, are built different.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Ignasi. Thank you, David. It was very interesting to listen to you. And that's a wrap up then. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.